All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week of Rocket Pitch. I'm so excited to be here with you all. My name is Tyler Stanfield. I'm the program coordinator at the Entrepreneurship Center for Rocket Pitch. And this is just one of our many programs that helps introduce students to entrepreneurial thinking, get you guys more engaged in the center, and hopefully everyone's having a lot of fun with this. One of the most important things about Rocket Pitch is that there's a lot of engagement from our audience, from the participants. So I just encourage everyone to, turn on your cams, give us a nice, good smile. We'd love to see you on this beautiful Friday. And there's going to be feedback on all the pitches. And, feel free to cheer them on. Keep your camera muted, but give them a nice little virtual clap at the end. Make them feel welcomed, appreciated. It's not easy getting in front of people every week and trying to present an idea. If you've never been here before, then welcome. We love seeing you here. Rocket Pitch is a moment in time for 3 students to come on stage and give their best idea. It could be anything from a tech startup to a nonprofit startup to just about anything they want to come up with and feel comfortable sharing with us. They have 2 minutes to talk, and most importantly, it's not about the prize. There are $100 that come if you do win, but it's about learning. It's about entrepreneurship. It's about developing yourself and developing your ideas. Of course, this wouldn't be possible without our partners at Ferguson. We thank them very much. There's actually a member from Ferguson with us today, Mr. Blake Luce. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And we also have some coaches from the Entrepreneurship Center here with us. We have Terry Walker, Andrew Lloyd Williams, Michelle King, and Graham Henshaw himself. Thank you all for being here. What makes a good rocket pitch, you might ask? Well, there's 4 things. There's a problem, a market, current solutions, and your solutions. A good pitch will take their 2 minutes to thoroughly explain each one of these aspects and explain how their product delivers on all of these aspects. Without further ado, I don't want to take up too much of your time. It's about the pitchers. Pitchers, you'll have 2 minutes. I'm going to mute you if you begin to go over. No hard feelings, it's just in the spirit of the game. And our first pitch is going to be from Nick Dantzler-Ward. He's a government major, a junior, and he will be presenting Quasar.
Thanks, Tyler. Appreciate it. I'm ready when you are. All right, ready?
Do you have any screen sharing that you need to do, or?
Nope, I'm just gonna read. Or
Perfect. All right.
Wait. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. 80% of new startups fail. Why? This past week, I actually spent some time talking to some new startup founders about how they handle pivoting and customer satisfaction during rough patches. And what I found was that their focus during failure was concentrated on survival. So more funding from external sources, scaling back operations as money grew tighter, but no one seemed to really identify one of the really critical parts of maintaining and growing a business, which is actually developing empathetic connections to your target market and using some principles of design thinking, which involve ideating, prototyping, interviewing to meet new urgent market needs. So with that said, the question becomes, how can we bring the focus back to the customer and reduce that 80% failure figure? Material already exists to help new businesses get off the ground. Things like business plan templates, TaxWorks, CRMs, QuickBooks, anything you can really think of that involves the technical aspects, even idea generation hubs. But what founders really need is a way to connect that idea to a market for validation and then pinpoint that maintenance in order to succeed. So Quasar is a digital founder platform that actually starts dreamers and founders at square one of their business journey. They'll wireframe a business model canvas instead of a business plan that's traditionally done. They'll actually be able to edit that in any time. And once that's completed, they can actually begin the discovery phase of a design thinking platform bootcamp with milestones and deadlines to hold them accountable to their project. Once they connect to their market, we can provide them with prototyping software to address problem statements and help them launch their first businesses. With Quasar, risk is minimized, market feedback is maximized, and the startup world actually becomes accessible to everybody.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yes, I love to see it, the support from the community. All right, next we're going to have Micah West. He's in MBA second year, and he will be presenting alumni football.
Hi, everyone. All right, so I'm going to share my screen real quick, if that's okay, if you want to enable me. And I'm actually going to share a different business here today. So we're going to switch it up a little bit.
Can you
Let me share? Yep, share now. Okay. All right, can everybody see that? All right, 3, 2, 1. My oldest daughter, shown on the left here, Avery, when she was little, had a fairly, what we doctors would call a severe diaper rash. And my wife and I tried just about everything we could to solve that issue. There are probably 10, 20 products on the market to help solve diaper rash challenges, and none of them worked. And so, you know, in desperation, we turned to the internet, we turned to friends and family, we turned to everywhere we could to try to figure out how to solve this for her. And eventually we spoke with my wife's grandmother, who has some pioneer heritage. And she said, you know, have you ever tried browned flour? And we're like, what? What is that? And so she's like, well, there's this recipe that's been handed down. It's kind of family to family, under the radar, and the pioneers used it. She's like, this is what people used in the olden days. And so, you know, she made us some, and we tried it, and it worked. And so, you know, over the course of our parenting years, you know, we have 4 daughters, and you know, we've given this recipe to friends and family, and it seems to work for them as well. And so, you know, over the course of an infant's life, 50% of infants will have at least one diaper rash, but typically they'll have at least one severe diaper rash as well. And there's not a current solution. There's not an over-the-counter solution for severe diaper rashes right now. In fact, pediatricians don't have products to turn to. And so, you know, this is an interesting problem and an interesting market. The global diaper rash cream market, based on Grandview research, is about 1.48 billion, and it's supposed to grow over the next 4 or 5 years, which is fantastic. But there's a ton of competition. So in terms of just the broader market, Desitin, Aquaphor, you know, there's a lot of traffic here in terms of competitors and a lot of noise. And so figuring out how to cut through that noise and that competition would be really critical specifically for severe diaper.
Sorry, Micah. I appreciate it, but time is time. You gave it your best. Thank you. It was a great idea, great concept. Love to hear it. All right. Could you go ahead and end your video share? Thank you. All right, and so now I'd like to give the judges a chance to give some feedback. So if we could start with Nick and just have 1 or 2 of you give a comment or two.
Can I share one thought? Nicholas, I liked your presentation. I thought you kind of caught my attention in the very beginning. What I was listening for was a little bit more of a differentiator between, I am familiar with the Business Canvas. What are you doing different than what the Business Canvas track would do for you? So I was, you might think about in the future trying to make it differentiating that a little bit more.
Terry, I appreciate the input. Can you repeat that feedback one more time for me, if you don't mind?
No, not at all. And sorry if I have my volume turned too down.
No, you're totally good.
One second. Here we go. Okay. No, I liked your presentation. I followed what you were doing. I like that you were trying to find a solution to help startups in second stage after they actually got started, matching them up with the right people and the right social messaging. When you started talking about the Business Canvas and what was available today, I wasn't really clear on what was different between what's available. What are you doing much better than what's available today?
Understood. I appreciate that. Yeah, so basically what I was doing was digitizing the way we interact, first of all, with starting up the business. What I was actually doing was the first stage of starting the business, not the second stage. It's actually fleshing out the different aspects, things like the value proposition and your unique customer segments, and being able to edit that digitally at any time, so that you could actually look at that kind of wireframe and be able to edit that as you got your customer feedback. So this platform would essentially use that as the basis of your business. I'm sorry if it's so dark in here, the light's starting to change. As your interviews come in and you get feedback and you meet those milestones, you'll be able to go back to that canvas and edit it digitally at any time. So it removes a lot of the more manual aspects of starting the business, and it's less static than it's traditionally been, you know, in crafting out a whole business plan with items that change all the time. And as soon as you create it, it's outdated. So I wanted to try and minimize that and make it so that you had a dashboard essentially where you could see all the aspects of your business and then change them as you need when you get the proper feedback through our interviewing network.
So you had my attention when you said this is different from a business plan, because I completely agree with your comments. The business plan can be considered very static. And then you lead into the business canvas. The business canvas itself is available electronically and could be pretty easily adjusted. I would just suggest as you go into that phase, just like you were saying, to be able to digitally change it easily. I'd consider looking to find ways to better differentiate what is available today with business canvas versus what you're doing. That's all.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yep.
Yes, Nick, I think you're right when you say that a lot of businesses get to a point where they tend to focus on survival rather than connecting with the customer. And I guess a question I'd have is, at what stage do you think the business needs to start thinking about your program? Because it seems to me that the sooner that you really need this to start before you even launch the business, so that you anticipate the situations that arise where you're struggling for survival. So if you find that your cash needs are greater than you anticipate, you have a plan to deal with it. And I think this all goes along with the business canvas, where you're collecting your resources from the very beginning, so that really a lot of businesses kind of launch into production before they've really got to the point where they have their act really together and they know all the contingencies that they may have to develop.
That's exactly right, Andrew. That's a fantastic comment, because that's exactly what the intention was, is for people to actually look at who exactly their assumed target market is, and then be able to actually get out there, get out of the building, and then find who they are, and then pivot as they need to before they invest time and money into creating a prototype, which is, I think it's one of the big issues that it's made with a lot of modern companies today, and I think can explain part of the reason why the startup failure is so high. But being able to connect early on, just like you said, is key, and being able to give them the tools to be able to pivot quickly, I think is really important.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, coaches. And now for Micah West, we get one or two more coaches on him.
So Micah, I think, as you know, I've got 4 kids, so I've experienced that problem. Unfortunately, your solution, which I really wanted to hear, came a few years too late for me. I guess my feedback would really just be about presentation. Obviously, you got the hook, you got pulled off before we really got to the punchline, and I think that's just about practice, because I was really listening. Like your storytelling is great. There just wasn't enough time to get from the hook to what the actual solution was. And I think prior, when we were 90 seconds, that came up on people really fast, and turns out 2 minutes is still really fast as well. And so I hope you'll pitch again, because I want to hear the full solution. But the challenge to you is, how do you get that hook and share that relevant information? The market information is great, but you've got to do all of that in about 30 seconds, not a minute and 30 seconds. And so I look forward to seeing what that looks like and sounds like, because I think there's something compelling here, and you already have traction. You know the product works. I just want to know more about it. So pitch again, and I hope to understand more about that solution.
Sure.
Yeah, I have 3 daughters, Micah, and it's a bit late for me too. But I guess one of the things I would ask is the product certainly worked for you, but I think maybe there needs to be a little more testing of other, there's so much talk about vaccines at the moment and whether they're safe and effective. Doesn't sound as though there's any reason to think that there would be any problem with this, but it may work for some and not for others. And I think in order to really market it, you need to have a little more statistics on how effective it's been.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a complete breakdown of, I should have shown it, but like a range of challenges with diaper rash and different causes. And this is a very specific pinpoint for severe diaper rash on a specific cause. So it's like helping consumers identify what that is. And then, there's not really a solve today for that specific one. So,
yeah.
But yeah, no, I like it. Great feedback.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, coaches. And now I want to give an opportunity to the audience. You guys have been listening, paying attention. I'm sure you have your own questions, or maybe you just want to get to know the pitchers a little bit more. I'm going to put you guys in breakout rooms for a few minutes, ask them some questions. After about 3 to 4 minutes, I'm going to switch the pitchers to the other room so you have a chance to ask the other one questions. So I'll see you back in a bit.
You're great.
Thanks.
Don't forget at the end of this to plug the liftoff game.
All right. Got you. I meant to post a new member link, but each and every week, it's new challenges.
Okay, you're doing great.
I might hop in one of the break. I kind of want to hear what they're talking about. Make sure it's all going smoothly.
Yeah, can you move through it like easily? Like, could you come back out?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll stay in just to make sure that nobody comes back out and is panicking.
All right, I'll make you co-host.
Sounds good.
See ya.
All right.
I think maybe like go all the way and make it something that really captures people's attention.
Shock and awe campaign.
Take it or leave it. I don't know if that's good advice or not. We have one capitalist on the call. Let's see what Blake has to say about a butt picture on the pitch.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, that'd be tough. You might want to be, I don't know. But I think to your point, to Graham's point earlier, you can get it faster because people who have had kids, so your target audience, understand it quickly. So it's like, I've got a kid. I also have a grandmother who's a pioneer. A kid got a butt rash or whatever. She had the solution. Let me tell you about it.
Yeah.
And then it was good information. I mean, you had some stuff that's like, hey, these are the competitors and all that. That's cool. But to Graham's point earlier, I wanted to see what the product looked like. The cool part is you were talking about your market and testing, and you tested with your friends and they had kids. If you get into more specifics, hey, I tested with 8 families that had 12 kids, and we were successful 50% of the time. Cool. Generalities don't matter.
Yep. No, I love that. That's great.
I think you could hit it harder and then get to your product, because you could throw that thing out at like a farmer's market, sell it all day. Put some organic logos on it, and sky's the limit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
And you've pitched, like 50, 60 times. So like, do you have any tips for like idea generation or something like that?
That's a really great question. I think a lot of it just comes down to talking to people. As you develop kind of an understanding of what an empathetic connection looks like. And by the way, if you guys know, Savannah and Laura both also work here at the EC. and they're extremely good with this is Laura there, extremely good with interacting with people and helping them with any kind of consulting, if that's something that you require in terms of idea generation. But from my perspective, I would say that as you have conversations with people, put it in context of pain points. So as they say, oh my goodness, I wish that, on-campus dining was better. And you might ask, why? In what way? Like, what do you feel needs to be improved that isn't there now? And they'll actually probably tell you, and they won't even think about a potential business idea, but you will have that connection. And it just comes with time and conversation. You start to look at the world in terms of possible ideas and less about, just the conversational aspect. So I think it's something that you practice. It's something that you develop. And then those conversations become opportunities. And then that's how you start to look at them.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Nick, I'm going to switch you now.
Let's do it.
Awesome. I'm slow. Hold on.
That's fine. Pleasure meeting you guys.
I'm going to go make sure he's not like mid-question before I just send him over here.
A deeper, maybe a better price than typical powder. So I've looked at kind of the range of the market, and it's difficult to say, but I think you're probably at between the $6 and $12 mark, most likely. And the thing too is when parents get to this stage of severity, they're pretty desperate usually, and so they're trying for, like, typically they've tried most of the products on the market, and they're like, oh my gosh, nothing's working. Like, how do I solve this? So I think there's a huge need there, and probably that lends to a deeper or a better price as well. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah, I wonder about potential liability because, of course, the talcum powder industry is facing huge lawsuits now.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, sorry to interject, but just want to make sure everyone has a fair chance to talk to the pitchers. Mike, I'm going to switch you over to the other room now.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tyler.
How's everybody doing?
Good, thanks, Nick.
Good.
I see so many old faces here. It's great. We've got Andrew, Greg, Meredith. Holy cow, it's crazy. Blake is here. Terry's here. How are you guys doing?
Better now.
Better. It's good to see you guys.
Nick, on this, are you actually going after this, or is this just a pitch for fun?
This actually is something that I'm going after. So what I wanted to do a little bit differently, than some projects that I was going after last year in particular, was I started doing a lot of the prototyping really early on. And I got so caught up in so many of the assumptions of, market needs and understandings that I thought that, I had it all figured out. And basically I needed to develop that and then pitch that whole, fleshed out idea in front of, the people that I thought would need it. And then that just got shut down. So I realized that I needed to do a little bit more work on the understanding of design thinking. And then once I understood that, I actually was like, okay, so I'll come up with a different idea. I mean, instead of making assumptions, I'll start my interviews early. I'll get out of the building. I'll start working with small startup founders who have an understanding that's like fresh in their mind about the worst and most difficult aspects of starting a business. And then I'll just take it from there. Find out where those pain points are, and then use that information to actually inform the first the first prototype. But I didn't want to.
I return.
Hey.
They're having good conversations. So this was a good idea. Thank you. This works.
It's just like, okay, I have to get my bachelor's degree. Like, let's just get through this as fast as I possibly can, and have fun experiences while I'm here. But it's just like, just push. And the MBA is more like taking a step back and really digesting. You just come at it with a whole different perspective if you have some work experience, which is fun. So yeah, absolutely. Other thoughts, questions?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like Savannah, I really liked how you started off with the personal story. I always like when products start off with that. It definitely influences me more to buy them. So I think that was a good idea in your pitch.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My second daughter had no neck when she was little. I mean, her cheeks were so fat they would sit on her chest. So she would get, we called it the stinky neck syndrome, because you'd have to like lift up her cheeks and like wipe under her neck and stuff. It's pretty funny. Anyway, healthy babies. They're nice. Any other questions or thoughts or?
I just have a quick question going off of like talking about your background. So out of undergrad, did you immediately go into starting into consulting or your consulting business?
So my background is digital marketing and e-commerce. So I worked for eBay as an analyst, and then I went to overstock.com and did some digital marketing channel management, and then worked for a couple of startup companies, and then ran digital for Dress Barn and for a company called Eastern Mountain Sports, which you guys might know. So they're like the REI of the East Coast. And then I worked for, they ended up going bankrupt. And so that's when I started my consulting business. So I did that for about 3 years and then struggled to make it work. Any other questions? Good questions, Nana.
Have you ever pitched before in Rocket Pitch?
I have once. I pitched last year. Yeah, obviously it needs some polishing for sure. I didn't give it enough time. I was like working on it today and I had a bunch of calls this morning. I'm like, I gotta get this done. Anyway, I could be way more polished. Yeah, I would suggest if you guys have ideas, like just come pitch, you know, give you some feedback and flush things out. Oh, yeah, we had some really good pitches last year. It's fantastic.
Yeah, this is always so much fun. I love hearing everyone's ideas. Unfortunately, I do have to close the room now. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. It's great seeing people here. And let me just double check the other room real quick, but I am gonna close this in just a second.
Thanks, Sally.
Thank you.
So I think if you can find some tangential aspect of customer development to focus on, that will serve you better than being the one-stop shop platform for the whole thing, because that's unlikely to actually work, actually.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
May I throw out a question? How do you see this? How do you see testing, market testing fitting into what you're discussing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I was doing recently is after those interviews, I decided to create a wireframe, and my first prototype is now coming up. And basically what that is a step-by-step process of what this site or platform looks like. Basically, we would walk through our front-end users through a series of different questions. So like, what is the type of market that you'd like to get into? I don't want to ask them what their business idea is, because as soon as they get attached to that, they shut down potential input. So go through a questionnaire that asks them what kind of market they're interested in, and then the types of customers they'd like to serve. And then once we kind of get an idea of what they're targeting, then we can give them access to like a bit of the business model canvas. So that's like the first step of this. So once they flesh that out, then we can connect them to some mentors. And they would be able to kind of talk a little bit more about the business, the operation, things like that, connecting them to interviews, how to conduct an interview properly. And then once they learn how to do that, we actually can launch them right into it. So we'll set deadlines, when you need to have these interviews completed by, how to apply information to the interviews, to your first problem statements, how to create a problem statement. And then we can get into the ideation, and then we can expose them to things like design software. So like Marvel prototyping, fantastic piece of gear that a lot of people don't know about, but it's a way to walk them through that. And then once they're able to provide a prototype that satisfies the market need, then we can work on actually creating it. So we would take them back to their mentorship network, get more feedback from them, and then maybe put them in a funding round or something like that.
Hey Nick, thank you all. But I gotta shut down the rooms now. Gotta get everyone back. Thank you very much. I'll see you back in the main session. All right. Looks like everybody's back. Thank you all very much. Hope I heard some great discussions. I hope everyone else enjoyed it. Now it is for the important part. Always remember, this is about entrepreneurship at the end of the day. There is a cash prize, but we're here to develop ideas, work on ideas. Even if you don't win this week, meet with a coach. They're more than happy to help, as I'm sure you've just experienced. Come back next week and present it again. But without further ado, I am going to launch the polls, so take some time and vote on them real quick. And also, while you're thinking about that, if you're not a member yet, we'd love to reach out to you, stay connected, get you involved with more of our stuff. The link to sign up to that is in the chat right now. Briefly after we close up polling, there's going to be the registration form so you can get your points for this event. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's okay. I'll explain it all at the end. Missing just 2 votes. Just 2 more votes. All right, just 1 more vote. And we have this week's winner. Congratulations to Nick. You are the second Rocket Pitches winner. Congratulations.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, Law. I really appreciate this.
Thank you for coming up with your idea and sharing it with us. We'll be in contact about getting you your prize, and you as well. Continue developing your idea. Don't let it stop at just a pitch. Bring it to fruition and just keep on. Get it to the prototype stage, and get it to the public release test stage, and then get it to the full release stage. We're here to support you every step of the way. So thank you very much for that. For those that have stayed this whole time, thank you. Here's a check-in form, so that way we can just keep track of everybody that's been here. And then also there's something else that it ties into, and that's our semester-long game. Yes, at the Entrepreneurship Center, we have launched the game. It is so much fun. You just go through different stages of entrepreneurial thinking, learning, and every step is designed to teach you something, and it should also be enjoyable and exciting. At the end of it, you get to have a nice connection with our alumni base. This isn't just like any alumni. These are notable alumni in various positions that can very much help you further your career ambitions and entrepreneurial ideas. That is a hard word. And if you want more information on that as well, it's going to be the 3rd link in the chat. So in the order, it goes new member registration, check-in, and then the game website. And next week, there's also Alumni Founder Series on Thursday, featuring Samantha Boateng. She's from Read to Lead. She's going to have a lot to say. It's going to be next Thursday at 5:30. Make sure you tune into that. Event details are on our calendar, RSVP, so that way we can make sure everything's running smoothly ahead of time. And also, I want to take another second. I know a lot of announcements. It's a busy semester. We're hitting the ground running this time. And I want to take a moment and just really thank and appreciate Graham Henshaw. He has recently won the Duncan Teaching Award, and that is an award to honor and encourage innovation in undergraduate teaching. So thank you, Graham. And with that, that is everything that we have scheduled for today. Thank you all for being here. It's great seeing all your faces. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Hopefully you've been inspired to come with an idea of your own. Thank you and have a good weekend.
Bye.